Good morning, dear children. Today I am here with a very interesting chapter from Footprints Without Feet. And guess what? The name of the chapter is Footprints Without Feet by H.G. Wells. Let's have a look at the introduction of the author. Herbert George Wells, more commonly known as H.G. Wells, was born on September 21, 1866 and died on August 13, 1946, was a prolific English author of fiction and non-fiction. Wells is best remembered, however, for his famous science fiction novels and uncanny predictions about the future. His published works are The Time Machine, The Island of Dr. Moreau, The Wheels of Chance, The Invisible Man, The War of the Worlds. The story which we are going to do, that is the Footprints Without Feet, is an extract from his novel The Invisible Man. His key accomplishments are pioneered the science fiction genre and wrote more than 100 books during his 60 plus year career. So let's find out. This is an interesting story about a scientist named Griffin and his rare formula of invisibility. He developed a drug which made his body invisible, but he can be touched and felt physically. So let's find out whether he uses his rare discovery for good or bad. Isn't it interesting to find out that, children? Synopsis or summary of the story. This is an interesting story of a scientist who discovers a potion. Potion means liquid drug which can easily make a person disappear. The scientist tests that potion on himself. When he drinks that, he actually becomes invisible. He was astonished to see that thing. When he realized that no one can see him and he can do anything he wishes, his mind comes up with some mischievous ideas. He went here and there in the streets of London. Once he was passing by, and some of the children noticed his footsteps in the mud. They felt strange because nobody could be seen, only the footsteps could be seen. So it was a very, very strange sight for the children and kept following his footsteps. They follow it until the footsteps are fainter and cannot be seen. But Griffin was rather a lawless person. His landlord disliked him and tried to eject him, throw him out of the house. In revenge, Griffin set fire to the house. He had to remove his clothes to get away. So he became a homeless wanderer without clothes or money. He keeps roaming here and there without clothes, but the weather was not favorable. It was cold enough outside. So he made a plan to get some clothes from the supermarket. He silently enters the supermarket without making any mistake. Then he makes himself comfortable by getting some clothes for himself. He enters the kitchen and finds some good food to eat. After having a good dinner, he then slept on the pile of quilts because, as such, he was very tired. In the morning, as the staff comes, they doubt the presence of someone in the store. Seeing the condition of the store, the staff of the store was very doubtful that there was somebody in the store. Then he had to run away to save himself. The clothes were making it difficult for him to hide from people. So finally, he had to remove his clothes. So whenever he wants to make himself invisible, he removed his clothes. After a few days, he decides to move to a silent place in a village Iping. There, he books a room in an inn. Before reaching that hotel, he hid his full face with a bandage so that no one doubts him. When he reached the counter of the hotel, people find him very awkward. Naturally, none of us have seen a man covered with the bandage, and he had goggles on his face also, so he was looking very strange. So they found him very awkward, very strange person. He then lives there for some time, but after some days, his money gets finished and he is forced to do something. That means again he is into something wrong. So he decides to steal the money. He quietly enters the room of clergyman and steals money from the drawer. They suspect someone in the room, but because he was without clothes, no one is able to see him and he escapes. The inn owner and his wife walks outside the room of the scientist Griffin, and they notice that the room is wide open. So they were curious to know what was there inside the room, whether the man is there or not. So what they saw is they saw that his bandage and clothes are lying on the bed. As soon as they enter the room, Griffin comes and throws the chair towards the lady's leg. Out of fear, they run away and he shuts the door with force. This makes them feel that there is some spirit or something in that room because he was invisible. When he saw these people entering into his room and searching the things, he started throwing the furnitures on him. He even threatened them. So they thought that there is some spirit or something wrong is there in that. Meanwhile, the clergyman calls up police, and as the news of theft spreads, people start doubting the scientist for the same. Mr. Jaffer, the constable, arrives. He was surprised that he had to arrest a man without a head. But he had to arrest him in any case because he has been given the orders to do so. So he tried to catch the scientist, but he was throwing off one garment after another because he wanted to become invisible. The constable found himself struggling with someone he could not see at all. Some people tried to help him, but they received blows only from invisible Griffin. In the end, Jeffers became unconscious. There were cries of hold him. People were shouting to hold him, but none of them were able to. But Griffin had freed himself. No one knew where to lay hand on him because he was not visible to them. So they were not knowing how to catch them, where to catch hold of him. It was impossible to catch him. Catching an invisible thing is easier said than done. So here's the message of the story. The story Footprints Without a Feet describes the story of a brilliant scientist Griffin who degenerated himself into a lawless person. He discovered that human body could become transparent and invisible, but he misused his discovery. See, many a times the debate is on, many a times we talk about this science, a boon or a bane. Whether the scientific inventions should be used for the betterment of the world or should be used to destroy the world or the destruction of the world. So, whenever something is discovered, it should be kept in mind that it should be used for the betterment of the humanity, betterment of the world. It should not be used to destroy the world. But he misused his discovery. He did not use the power of invisibility for the welfare of society and humanity. He could have easily used his power to help the poor and the needy people, to help eradicate the corruption from the society, but he didn't do any kind of thing. He misused it to threaten trouble, beat, and rob them. He did illegal entries into shops and malls and stole things. This story gives a very strong message that misuse of science and its great discoveries can make a brilliant scientist like Griffin a monster and a threatening, lawless person. Now, dear children, I would like you to write a essay, or I can say, yeah, you write a essay or a paragraph on the topic if you become invisible. So I would like to know your thoughts and your ideas. So those who wish, you can write and send me on my personal WhatsApp ID. What will you do if you will become invisible? I will really love to know your ideas. So feel free, and please, it's my request to all of you. Try to write it, don't avoid it. So bye, have a good day.